Michelle here with Homeschool Haven. I want to talk about how to tweak your curriculum to fit you and your kids and not be a slave to it. Um, this is something I've struggled with the first few years, and I feel like I've come to a good place finally this year in tweaking my curriculum to really fit what works for us. I used to feel really a lot of pressure to get one lesson done every day from each program that we're using, and I found that that really took the joy out of a lot of the homeschooling days that were my worst. I can look back now and see that they were so bad because I was pushing myself way too hard, and my kids. I was making the curriculum our master, really, and not realizing that we really are in charge and we're in the driver's seat there. So I'm going to share a couple of programs that we're currently using and how we are tweaking them to match what we can do and what we are trying to accomplish over here. I'm going to choose math programs just because I think math is kind of that head-butting subject for a lot of people. It's hard to sometimes plow through some of those lengthy lessons that a lot of programs put out there. And so I'll start with Beast Academy. I will start this and preface this by saying I actually really like this program. It's been a good fit for my son. I would not recommend it to a child who struggles with math, who needs repetition and things broken down into simple steps. This is definitely a program for a more gifted math student. It comes with this guide that they can read on their own. It has graphic novel style writing in it, so he does that on his own, but we don't do this every day because there are practice pages with each section of that book that really take more than a day to get through. So I want to talk more about the practice book because this is where we have really tweaked things a lot. So we have the first chapter is all about geometry. And see, when I first started this, I thought, okay, this will be really nice and tidy. We'll read a little bit of the guidebook, we'll do a little bit of the practice book every day, and we'll kind of just do little bits every day as outlined. They do not have a scope and sequence as far as what to do day by day, but I will say we have had to tweak it quite a bit. The questions in here are really challenging at times, and they require a lot of time to think and work through and problem solve. So you might see like 2 questions on a page. Like this might seem really easy, but at the time, when they're actually working through it, 2 problems could take 15 minutes. So it's hard to look at this and say, okay, we'll get through 2 pages tomorrow, and until you're actually digging into it, it's difficult to know how long those pages are going to take. So we have actually done the geometry portion, the pages in here. We're still kind of biting off a couple of pages at a time as we then work through the second chapter, which is all on skip counting, which I looked at originally and thought, oh, my son knows how to skip count. That'll be easy. Maybe we should just skip that whole chapter. I'm so glad we didn't, because it has also been a great challenge for him. So here's a skip counting page. These 4 problems took probably 10 minutes. And like this page looks pretty easy. They're just plugging numbers in. This took a whole day of work, pretty much. We did a little bit of multiplication review in a different pad book that we have, but figuring out these lower ones that were a little bit trickier took a lot more time, and so we just adjusted, and what we do is I just put our timer on for 20-25 minutes, and we give it our best focus. I'm usually in the same room to help encourage him and help him to stay focused because he really values that. But we have delved into the second chapter as we're still making our way through the first chapter. So because these are really challenging, these geometry ones, they're like little puzzles, right? So he did these 2 today. And then I thought he probably could use a break. We read through this material so that we could be prepared to start here tomorrow, but I imagine we probably will only get through 2 more problems tomorrow as well. So how we've been doing it is we'll do a tiny bit in here, like in the geometry portion, and then we skip over to skip counting to kind of give our brain something different to think about, and we'll do maybe a page or 2 from this chapter. So we're doing it kind of side by side. And then I'll do like 2 or 3 minutes of a little multiplication review for him. And so we kind of have these little segments to help so that he's not running dry and ragged halfway through. We kind of have these little ways to shift gears and help him have mental breaks in between those sections. A couple years ago, I probably would have just plowed through from beginning to end and just told myself, well, we need to go through the program as written. They must have done this for a reason. And so anyway, I wanted to share that example that you can jump around and skip places and come back to others. There have been times where one problem was super duper hard. He gave it about 5 minutes of time and I thought, okay, let's jump to something else and come back to this tomorrow when we're looking at it with fresh eyes. So that has really helped him and I not butt heads quite so much. My daughter has this book here that we've been working through the latter half of last year, and then we're just finishing this up right now. And as I've been thumbing through this and reflecting on how things have changed between even last year and this year, I can see that last year I was plugging one lesson in every day and we were pushing through. Even if a lesson was taking longer, we would do a whole lesson. So it might take an hour and then the next lesson might only take 20 minutes. But now you can see we oftentimes are doing things over 2 days because we just do as much as we can in about a 25-minute block of time, 30 minutes of focused energy. You can see here I have another 2-day. I just kind of add the date just for work samples. We have to take pictures of what my kids are working on, so I like to just be accurate on what days they're doing things. But this one only took a day. It was a little bit quicker and moving, but the next one took 2 days. So really most of the time this year we've been doing about half a lesson a day. Half a lesson takes us about 30 minutes, which has been huge for us. And my daughter was actually saying the other day, oh, I don't want math to be over. And I actually feel like stopping about after 30 minutes kind of leaves her wanting more sometimes, but it also a lot of times is just where we're kind of at our threshold for focus, and it's when things start to dissipate. Our level of enjoyment goes down dramatically after about that long. I know older kids often have deadlines with classes that they might be taking online, and so that is a little bit different obviously than having a program like this that you're in charge of. But I still, even if there is a deadline, I recommend putting a timer on, and even if you have to do 2 or 3 segments each day to reach the deadline, having those focused times that are a little bit shorter, I think really help, particularly in the subject of math. So I hope that helps and just gives you permission and the freedom now to kind of relook at your own curriculum and say, how can I tweak this so that we can do this more peacefully and to have more joy through the journey of this homeschooling year.